Another week of We Have Thoughts. Basically, as we say, just whatever's on our mind at the moment. We're going to share with you our thoughts, whether you want them or not. But yeah, it's pretty much what we're doing,
I
Soto.
mean, yeah. Nobody asked for this.
No one asked for this, but we do this. This is something, we've been doing for years. We just kind of called it something different, but I kind of like these podcasts, just our random topics, whatever. I don't know. There's just something to it, and we always have fun. Our channel, they kind of do well when we break them down for people, but yeah, we're live on YouTube, put it up on Spotify, but this week, Soto, we're going to do something a little different. We usually, find a topic, make fun of it, move on, even like wrestling or sports, but I felt like maybe this is time to get a little personal, because I don't even think me and you have many conversations of why we started getting into stuff like this. I know we both were, huge movie buffs. We met at Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
obviously, we've talked about this many times. I mean, we're both huge movie fans, obviously, because we've watched a ton of
Yes.
shit, especially if we look at our letterbox.
Yeah. hmm
But, we both have, whether going to college or whatnot, we both wanted to be filmmakers. And I thought
Yeah.
it'd be kind of cool. I mean, there was a couple aspects to this, and I think we're going to kind of get around to a lot of it today. But, like, why we wanted to become filmmakers, some of the steps we took. And there was a question I kind of asked last year when we were taking notes and ideas, and like, do we feel like we failed, or like, why do so many people, I hate to use the word failed, but just stop doing this, because it is an industry that's hard to break into.
Yeah.
But I don't. We'll see where the conversation. But we never really fully talked about it. I know you went to college, you've done some things. About my movie, but we haven't really talked about that. So yeah, I kind of just want to start from the beginning, Soto, and we're gonna start obviously with
hmm
you. I mean, what better
Okay.
place than start at the beginning? But
Yeah.
what I know you love movies, but what was your when did you decide, like, I want to make films, I want to direct, I want to write, this is what I kind of want to do? When did you have that dream to be a filmmaker?
I would say it. It's funny because growing up, I never really had that thought of wanting to be a director. Um, I love movies. I love going to movies. We've talked about in other podcasts before that it's just a very personal. Since I was a little kid, it's just I've been watching nothing but movies. I love being in theaters. When I went to college, uh, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just, I honestly was like, okay, well, maybe business, or liberal arts. I never thought about it. And when I looked at the catalog, uh, for what courses were available, um, I saw that there was one for film, and I was like, what do you mean? In my head, I was like, I don't understand this. Like, you could take classes for movies. I was like, is that a thing? You can go to school for film? I really didn't know how you would even break into it. I never even thought about it, to be quite honest. Um, but I had a very hard freshman year in college, and I just didn't want to be there. I actually ended up going through academic probation. Um, I drank a lot. Drank a lot. No surprise there. That's where I learned how to drink.
It's college for you.
But mostly I was honestly like very depressed in freshman year, and um, I thought about dropping out. I was living in a really shitty dorm room. And by shitty, I mean like just tiny. Where it was just miserable experience, and I just didn't like my first year of college. I really didn't, and I didn't think I was gonna move forward. Um, and then when I was finally able to take classes and the film production classes in sophomore year, all of a sudden my world started to open up, and I started to go, "Oh my god, like this could be a thing." Um, I was very arrogant back then. This lasted all the way up to my early 30s. But I was very arrogant back then, and I thought I'd kind of found a niche, and then also it kind of filled the need, I guess, to be the best at something too. Because when we were in film school, it's kind of like competing against your classmates. But the most important thing that I found when I went to school for film was I ended up like getting a really great friend group out of it that I don't talk to anymore, of course. But
Well, that
that's how it
happens when
goes.
we get older. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. But yeah.
But I didn't have any friends in freshman year of college. And when I got into the film program, all of a sudden, I got a crew of good friends that were film kids and film nerds, and we would go over to each other's dorms and watch stupid movies like Big Trouble in Little China and we would get really drunk. We would watch Super Troopers, get drunk. I mean, we would watch movies and get drunk, and it was just like such a great thing. And we would party, we would hang out, and then we would go to class, and then we would talk about movies. We would go on various seminars. I remember we took like an Akira Kurosawa one, but it was just like having fun and talking about movies with your friends. And that's how I really got into it. I won't get into like, the downfall of that, but that's kind of how I got into the idea of being a filmmaker and a writer. Although I've come to think about it now when I've gotten older, that really I just kind of wanted, the attention of being a director at the time. Um, but I mean, getting into movies to me felt more like I had finally found, like a group of people that I belonged with, and I had a really great time doing it. And yeah, becoming a filmmaker just was a natural part of that. Like when we started first doing, we started learning how to do rack focus, and we were just like, oh my god, rack focus, and we started learning how to do editing. And I edited my first student film. I'll never forget. I edited it on 8 millimeter. So I shot it on an 8 millimeter camera. I developed the film, and then I edited it manually. And by manually, I mean I literally was going second to second on the actual frames of itself. So you're talking the actual 8 millimeter film. I was
Mhm.
timing out and measuring out the seconds so that I could sync it up to the song that I was going to play at the film festival that we had on campus. And so I duct taped one of those sort of eyeglass things, because obviously you can't see the frames unless you magnify them. So I spent all night. I cut film all night and taped it all together, just so I could shoot something in 8 millimeter, black and white, and to time it to a song that I had just been listening to over and over in my head. And when you're making movies and you have this experience too, and you're making anything, it's like you just everything's like learning, and it's a win. And um, I loved the whole feeling of it, and I loved the whole vibe. I just think that it kind of got mixed up a little bit for ego to me towards the end there, but I don't want to get too into it because that leans into the. I wouldn't say, like, I know the failure thing sounds harsh, but that's like the beginning of like the failure stuff. But to answer your question, how I got into it pretty late into my life, because I never really thought to myself that being a director or filmmaker was an option. I never thought that to myself when I was a little kid, and I never thought to myself that when I was a teenager as well. That only became apparent to me as an option not until I was like in my late teens, early 20s.
Damn. And to your point, and I know we might get into this a little bit later. I hate to say it, if you have the dream of being a filmmaker, whether it's writing or directing, I know those are the two main things we will be talking about. You
Yeah.
have to be a little egotistical about it, because in a way it is your dream, but it's also your vision. Because the idea of becoming one is like you want to create your own story, your own vision, and I know there's people, you can work with others, blah blah blah, but when you want to do it, you're like, this is just when you just need to get there. And you have to have that mindset. As sad as it is, you have to have it to a point. Now, yeah, you might need to brainstorm with others and shit like that, but don't. I understand the egotistical part of it. I got it into film, I guess I could say, a little earlier. I mean, I know I'm older,
Yeah.
but I mean in my life, because
Mhm.
for the most part, yeah, growing up, even through ninth grade, junior high, I never really, I loved movies. I never really thought about it. I never thought about a career, this and that. I was growing up out here in New Hampshire, and
Mhm.
I was just living my life. I was living my best life, friends, blah blah blah. We were just playing sports, no cares. And then I moved to Minnesota, and that's where I went to high school out there. And I say that because when I finally landed at the high school I ended up graduating at, because it took a little bit, they had, I started, I think, was it 10th grade? It had to have been because I think I started early. Um, I noticed a video production class, and they offered that at this high school. Now, I always like, I will say, in even in junior high and before, I always liked writing stories, like quick stories. Like I never did anything with them, but just like I was always a bit, I loved writing. But then I saw video
Hmm.
production, I'm like, oh, this is, let's see what this is. You know, I mean, I like movies. Let's see what it has to offer. And this was basically, you know, like you, I learned a lot editing, just even camera work. Because basically, what it was two things. One, we kind of did the high school show, like we did, you know, so we filmed basically a high school talk segment. But there was also a local cable company that we used to work with, and we did a kind of a weekly show there. A little bit more professional, but yeah, that's how I got into it. And like you, it's like it opened my world because yes, I had a lot of friends, obviously more out here. When I moved to Minnesota, I didn't at first. You know, I felt like very much the outcast because new school and everything like that. But you find people who have the same interests as you, and you're like, okay, and then you kind of just
Hmm.
grow in that.
Yeah.
And I did obviously when I started working, I met a few friends who became my film buddies, and they I didn't go to high school. I met them through work, but we all just kind of loved the idea, and that we kind of started our own little thing afterwards, which I'll get into in a little bit. But that's how I got into it. And that video production class was so awesome. I took it for 3 years. And I learned so much, you know, because we, you know, just even the board, we did like football games, sports games. So it's not just, you know, just creating, but, you know, basically how to put on a live show is what we did. And, you
Yeah.
know, so, you know, and I don't know if they offer that at your high school because this and that, but I'm like, that kind of helped. Unfortunately for me, going to college, I didn't want to go to college. I actually wanted to take like a year off because I was trying to figure out myself. And I was like, I
Hmm.
don't know, because I did think about going to Columbia College in Chicago. And I was like, all right, this is what, you know, very well known film school, obviously Chicago. I will be honest, Soto, I was scared shitless. You know, because, you know,
Mm.
you get to that age, you know, obviously it's one thing going to college near you. I don't know. And I also feel like I didn't have the guidance from the school to kind of talk me through it. Just be like, hey, it's okay. You know, just how to get there and what to do. You know, so it's like I was trying to figure out a lot of this on my own. And I did. I
Yeah.
wanted to take a year off. I was like, well, let me try. Because at this time, and I'm going to eventually backtrack, you know, I was doing like little projects. I'm like, let me see. Let me take a year off, figure things out. Maybe I'll do some other things. And my dad always said, you know, if you don't go to, and it is true, if you don't go to college right after high school, you might never go. And I know some people can later, but it's tougher, you know, if you skip a few years. And I think that's why I kind of panicked and I went to college for broadcasting, which I met a lot of great people. I was a radio DJ for a while. That was fun as shit. But it was
Hmm.
never my love. And I think I don't want to say I regretted it. It was just not what I wanted. I just, like you, I'm just trying to figure, you know, when you're a teenager, 18, 19, 20, you know, whatever, you're trying to figure your shit out. And no,
Yeah.
but yeah, I once I met my film friends, that's when we started kind of just taking a camera and just shooting whatever the hell we wanted. Like we would just make up shit,
Yeah.
you know, we did a lot of shit. So, but I'm curious. So I want to backtrack to you a little bit. So you went to college. You had no, you didn't go for, you just said you just went to college to go to college. You had no, I know you said business, but you had nothing in mind.
I had
Career wise
nothing in
at that
mind.
point, you're just like, I'm supposed to go to college. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really know anything else. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Chad. Like, really, the only thing that went through my mind in high school and the beginning of college was just girls. If I can be 100, no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's me being honest,
No,
and
I
it's
understand.
true. You can laugh. It's because it's
No,
true,
I'm
but
laughing because
like,
I'm agreeing. I get it.
like I just had girls in my mind, dude. That's all I cared about. That's it, and me and my best friend at the time, we would get into our little misadventures and um, we would do our thing, but I never really thought, about college. Like college to me was another opportunity to kind of be put in a situation to maybe meet a girl. I started smoking cigarettes because I had a crush on a girl and I wanted to be outside and smoke cigarettes there. Although I did really start smoking cigarettes until Blockbuster, because you guys are a terrible influence.
No, no, no.
Um,
No, no. You were smoking long before I was. I
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah. Well, like Jamie and like John would take me out and be like, "Hey, Soto, come out
We
and have a
probably all
cigarette with us."
smoked.
So I mean,
Yeah, no, no. Well, yeah,
yeah, this was back when you were like, oh,
not
like, don't
smoking.
talk to Chad, he's the enemy.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, that period. But no, I never went to film school, or I never went to college thinking about anything about film. I saw it in the curriculum as something that was a choice, and I thought to myself, well, shit, I've never really thought about it, but I kind of do like movies. When I started taking the courses and we started doing film analysis and we started doing film production, then I started to realize that I really do love this. I didn't know I did. Um, Not in that kind of way because I didn't think about that kind of stuff. I just never, I thought to myself, I go to college, I get a degree, I get a good job, I'd get married, I'd have kids, buy a house. That I would just live a normal, regular life or whatever we consider normal or regular. Um, but I just felt so lonely and isolated in freshman year that I just didn't know. I was really lost. But yeah, no, I never thought about film. I never thought about it. Never went around and played with film and never. I just watched movies. No matter what I did, I watched movies. I watched everything that was new. I was always at the theater. I was always getting videos and everything. And then that's why probably after college, that's probably why I kind of went to Blockbuster because I had this sort of romantic ideal about, being around movies all the time and how that would be like, the best thing ever. Obviously, Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors, if not my favorite director. And so I was like, yeah, this could be good. But, just so many distractions happened afterwards. But yeah, no, I never thought about it. I mean, I wanted to go to broadcasting like you did, actually, because I applied to Emerson College in Boston and I got put on the waiting list there. I was never really a very good, particularly very good student in high school, but Emerson put me on a waiting list, and I didn't want to wait. You're so stupid when you're a teenager because you have no concept of like long term or time.
Yeah.
But I thought if I waited to go to college, that I would be making some fucking mistake, and Lord knows. Now looking back at it, I'm like, what the fuck was I talking about? Because I wasted plenty of years after college, but. So when Emerson turned me down, I mean, I just went to Keene State because it was there and it was whatever. I had no idea what was at Keene State. Um, I just knew it was cheap. My parents could afford it and I would get to continue living high school, so I would basically get to continue being a kid. Because that's what I felt like college was back then. I didn't have a direction or a motive, to continue. So I really did fall into film and filmmaking accidentally. But once I started playing around, touching it, I definitely fell in love pretty quick.
And it's funny because I feel like, in a weird way, as far as the film goes, we've taken two very different paths up until this point. Because yes, because
Yeah.
as I said in high school, I did take video production, but that was very TV. It's very TV show, TV talk shows, stuff like that. And I did so much of that, doing things live, but it wasn't creating a movie. And I think once I met my friends at work, and they were very into it, they were interested. We used to
Yeah.
just literally I remember the very first thing we ever did that I think we did, but at least in my brain that I can remember because I'm old. But anyhow, we literally just took the camera and just filmed random scenes, random skits like that. I would have to say this is close to like Monty Python as Monty Python can get. Like it was just random, but in a way they connected. But we had no script. We just filmed whatever we thought was funny in the moment, and I
Mhm.
stitched it together. And we called it Pluck the Chicken. We don't. I wish I still. This is the one thing I somehow lost the copy throughout time. Like I wish I had this just to see like the first thing I've done. And we just always just that's what we did was improv, just whatever. And I know one day Dan actually eventually did, my friend Dan, who directed the film, he actually went to school for film a little bit. So he kind of taught himself later just to kind of all the technical stuff, which helped. But during this, he's like, all right, man, if we do this again, I want you to write down a story. He's like, just give me a script. Just give me something to work on, which is correct. Do not, it's what you want to do. You just can't improv everything. It's like, all right, what's the next logical step?
Oh,
And
of course.
I
Yeah.
was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And weirdly enough, I kept writing. And I know you saw this movie. You watched it on my YouTube. That's how I came up with Mind Games. I was like, let me just write something down. And that's
Yes.
the first thing, like the first, I would say, movie in a lot of that's first draft, obviously, that I put together. And it helps. And I love writing. I directing was never even, I think like you, because of Quentin Tarantino and because of the, influence he had on me, and I know as you as well. But it's just like I in high school and in college, I was like, oh, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna be just as famous as him. That was my egotistical thing. I was thinking like I'm
Yeah.
gonna be this great writer, and even Dan kind of made the joke. He's like, well, writers don't. Appear on Jay Leno. And I'm like, I'm gonna get there. Don't. And again, it was kind of a joke, but I think it back, I'm like, yeah, he's right. Because I never had the technical mind for it, and I'm being honest. Like,
Hmm.
I had ideas because I was like, okay, this is how I saw movies do it. This is kind of the shot I want, and I was kind of, I'm never thinking, again, I wasn't thinking about lighting. I wasn't thinking about this. I wasn't thinking about that. Dan did all, and I think, thank God I had Dan because we did a lot of things better after he kind of went to school and we kind of started collaborating.
Hmm.
And I had fun with it. I love writing, and to the point where like I'm trying to get back into it. I just need to. I hate to say it. I just need time. Everything's going on. I'm like, all right, 2026, new year, new me. I'm like, no, the movies will be done, but like you, but that's the thing. I never went to school for that. College, and obviously you
Hmm.
did, and a lot of people go to filmmaking school, and obviously all this we did all this in the 90s, and I've said this time and time again. 90s was the independent film decade, even maybe early
Yeah.
2000s, but that was when it was at its peak. That's almost when
Hmm.
you can make it. But yeah, I don't know. And yeah, we kind of grew from there. But when he looked at me, he's like, dude, just start writing things down. Just create a script. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. Because a lot of times I would give him the first draft and he would work, and it works wonders. An honest to God script, no matter how shitty the script is. We've seen some shitty movies, Sharks of the Corn. At least they still someone wrote that. Someone is like, all
They
right, they
did.
were page by page. Um,
Hmm.
but that's how.
Somebody had to literally write that and be like, "This is okay to release." Yep.
Yeah.
This is the final draft of Sharks in the Corn. This we can shoot this.
Oh my god. But do you? I know you probably did a few things in college. Do you remember any of your early work or things that you actually either wrote
Yeah.
or filmed? So let's talk about them.
Hmm.
Since what was one of the earliest stories that Soto created? Tell me a
Well, it
story.
wasn't so much me that created it, but one of the first projects we worked on, I think it's still on YouTube. Probably
Oh
somebody could
shit.
find it, but it's called. I think it was called Tiger. I think we shot it on 16 millimeter black and white. And there was no. So I'm talking 16 millimeter film. This is not video. This is actual film, like that you have to send out to get developed, and then you get the reels, and then you have to go in the old school editing kind of spooling mechanism. There's the big editing table. Now everything's done digitally, so this is like a hilarious concept. But there was a big editing table, and you had to like spool your film through it, and you could like have it play real time. You could do slow motion, and you could like do real fine edits. But you actually had to like cut it and tape it and do all that stuff. It was called Tiger, and I think it revolved around one of our friends on campus, um, trying to get a girl that he liked, and somehow there was like a training montage in there about learning kung fu and stuff, and it was like maybe like a 15-minute movie, um, and it's stupid, but we had a fucking blast doing it. And I'm sure you have these same memories when you made your movies too, where the end result, whatever, right? But you have memories of doing the day to day stuff that was like really funny,
Mm,
especially when you're trying to come up with ideas on the spot. Like one of my favorite things about making a movie is like when you are trying to problem solve or something happens accidentally that's even better than like what you thought was going to happen or what you had planned. Those kind of improvised moments like are really fun, but I had a lot of fun shooting that. My senior project, not so much. And I don't I'm not gonna say it's the fault of the my classmate who directed it because she was great. But that one was more like the seniors, like it was like a senior project where like the whole class had to kind of work on something. So we were all like, so me and my buddy were the cinematographer guys, and then we had sound guys who I always fought with. And then we had editing, so it was like much more like to mimic like what an actual movie would be like you have specialized, kind of roles. But yeah, I don't know where the 8 millimeter movie is. I only played it once. Uh, in a film festival on campus, and then there was another one that I made on Final Cut Pro, digitally, that's somewhere lost in the annals of time. But after film school, dude, uh, I had a very difficult relationship with film in general and filmmaking. Um, due to the way that ended, I had a very like I just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And so I don't think about I never really kept anything, or I didn't think about like once the dust had settled of being in my post college life, I didn't want to think about making movies or even the idea of it. I was completely soured on the whole experience based on how it ended. Um, so yeah, I never I never went out of my way essentially to keep track of the stuff I did. But if it's on YouTube, I don't know. I swear to God I remember seeing it on YouTube, but it would be called Tiger. Um, and that was the one. It's probably the only movie that I think that I did.
That's officially a film, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it's actually I could see it right now. If you look it up, I can actually share with you the link, but I can actually see it right now. I just looked it up on YouTube. 10 minutes and 27 seconds.
No, send me the link. I'm curious, but
I will.
Yeah, it's
so bad. I'm looking at it now, and I'm so embarrassing.
No, because especially because you're right. A lot of early stuff is embarrassing when you look back at it. But it's the people you did it with, you kind of remember, because I think after, because that Mind Games movie, and we did all ours in VHS up until the actual film we did, which we did on 16 millimeter as well. But, after we did that, I wrote that basically with friends of mine, like, okay, we can use, because obviously it's not like we can shoot in buildings and this and that. It's like, all right, how can I do this in people's houses? We can do this outside. Oh shit, someone called the cops because they think we really tied up a girl. That is a true story.
Yeah, that's right. Remember you tell me that story. Yep.
Yeah.
The train tracks, right?
The train tracks, yeah. So it was kind of the big ending, and luckily, because it was none of the, because we had guns and stuff like that. So luckily all that was done more under the bridge. But yeah, that was a hilarious story. But after that, I think because I think we had a little break, because I started going to college, and Dan was, I think at that time this is when he actually went to college as well. And I think when we were getting things done, we did things we used to call one-day projects. And what that would be is what it sounds like. In 24 hours, I would write, we would film, and edit in 24 hours. And it would be like a 10, 15-minute movie. I say movie, but just, and all those are on YouTube as well. And I think those are, not that I didn't have a blast with everything else, but just working with Dan, because everything was more collaborative. We were like, okay, what kind of story we want to do? And, as I'm writing or giving, he would have takes, and then we would edit it together. And literally 3, 4 in the morning, by the time everything's done. But no, I kind of also miss it too. It's like, I don't know what happened. Just, in time, I wish, maybe you do as well. Like you said, digital video did not come around until much later. And we were both probably already done with films or making, having this as a dream. I'm like, I wish digital film, and I wish the early stages of YouTube was around in the 90s, or something like that. Just because I think we, at least I'm like, so much more could have been successful, or at least get things out there. Not like what YouTube is now, or TikTok. It's oversaturated. But
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Agree.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it was tough back then too. It's just, you don't have as many options as you do now. So let me ask you, going back to a lot of things, I know you had, no love lost for film after you left college and stuff like that. But have you ever,
Yeah.
you know, kind of after that, have you tried writing? Have you tried anything just to be like, you know, I mean, more back, I know you've been writing some stuff now, but just, you know, how'd you get back into it? Or just, because I know you've written some things. You've told me a couple stories, which I can't even, you know, I kind of remember one. I don't know if I should say it out loud. I don't know if you ever officially wrote it, but have you tried to get back into it at all? Or just, you know, after, or was you just done
Yeah.
after college?
No, I'd say probably the last like what 4 years. I think after so I left college, and then I had this period between 2002 and 2003, and then like maybe 2009 of just being lost in the woods. And then when Sarah and I got together, my mindset was much more, I need to get a job, and it needs to make money, and I need to, that's basically what my motives were up until 2021. So when I left my last job, as you know very well, which is what predicated the beginning of this, uh, that's when I started opening myself back up to the ideas of doing something creative again, um, without ego. Because I'll tell you, without getting too much into the minutia of it, but I never had any. It was never interesting to me to move out to Los Angeles and become like a production assistant, and then move my way up and be a gopher. I was a production assistant uh, for a reality TV show during college, and it was the most like it was one of the worst experiences that I've ever had. Um, you're like essentially you're a gopher, right?
Mm.
So you're getting coffee and you're being talked to like a piece of shit. That kind of stuff. Like I just that idea that you have to lick people's boots in order for you to like move up in the film world. I never thought about it, and I'll give you credit because it's something that I just didn't have the balls to do. I never was like, well, okay, well, I'm just gonna shoot my own stuff, um, and just have it on the merit of that stuff. Whether I was afraid or whether I was lazy, I don't know. And it made me question whether or not I even like movies sometimes. So I didn't even watch movies for a very extended period of time. Only yeah, obviously we're doing the 200 movie challenge, so that was an effort to like reconnect to like who I used to be, because I felt like my life has really been like on pause for like 25 years when it comes to film. So to answer your question, like yeah, like I started writing probably last year, a lot last year in different ways, whether it's like writing novel ideas or some script ideas, things like that. Like I'm attempting to like kind of get back online. I don't have any desire to be like a film director or anything like that. When I was younger, like I was mentioning, like it seemed really cool to want to be the man and to see your name in credits and be like, oh, filmed by such and such. um that seemed really cool, but as I get older and my ego is less and less these days, um I can't shake the feeling of still wanting to be a part of it, and I think that's what still kind of drives me to not let it go completely, and why I still kind of am trying to write and I'm trying to work on different ideas. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but um as I don't know if I want to be a director, but I still really love movies and the idea of movies and sitting in a theater. I still love movies a lot. I don't know if that necessarily has to translate to like that being what I do for a living. I don't know. Like it's a very complicated feeling that I have right now towards it, because I've seen so many movies. You have too,
Yeah.
and I feel like that I could write a movie. Obviously, we just talked about Sharks of the Corn, so I definitely could write a movie. Uh, I just I still want to. It never went away. Does that make sense? Like it's never fully gone away. Here I am in my mid 40s, and I still have like a little like inkling of wanting to do that, of wanting to be a part of what that world is. I don't know why, but yeah, no, I've probably in the last 4 years have I restarted writing and going back. I'm just looking at it with a different approach, and that's why I wanted to watch these movies again, because I wanted to be like reconnected with like with movies and what they're about now. Like what I wanted to like see what was new, because I gave up on that, and I got really jaded because of it. But deep down inside, I don't think I ever really wanted to quit watching movies or being a part of it.
No, and yeah, excuse me, sorry. And things definitely changed as we gotten older because, like you
Mm-hmm.
know, I think I need to just sit down, and I know this year has been a little different for me because I started like for me, I could care less. I never cared about anymore about the directing and all that, but the writing was always there, and I think my goal now is try to write something. Like I would honestly say, if there's a goal to see a book. And if they made that into a movie, great. Hard part is, like I said, so much is going on, and I like you have so many different stories. But I'm like, all right, I know I need to do this. I need to get behind a computer. But as you said, it's also a
Mm-hmm.
mindset because I will tell you
Yeah.
this, and I know we've talked about doing this kind of next year because it's going to be a very big topic, and I know you have a lot of questions. But when I did write the film
Right.
that we actually did and went to film festivals with, like at that point in my life,
Yeah.
I was in a very good place in my life. I was like, I was
Mm-hmm.
happy, and I was like, all right. And the story's going to be told twice, but fuck it. Um, I will tell you how that, but I'll tell you how that movie came to be. Me, Dan Foley, and this other kid, Jason, I don't even know where we're at. I don't even know Minneapolis where we were, but we were literally just sitting on a bench. I think we were waiting for like the city bus, and we're just chilling. Spent the day, just whatever, hanging out. Dan made the comment, "This feels like a scene in a movie." And we all laughed because we are all movie people. And I went home and I basically, on postcards, outlined all four characters from beginning to end. And then I just started writing. And that's how I came up with that movie. And yeah, we worked, that was a lot of work, but we did that on 16 millimeter film. But like you said, you got to be in the right mindset. And I think you just have to be happy. Like you said, it's different then and now because now we're probably more jaded old men. Like, fuck it, we're just going to do this, whatever. I don't care what happens. Um, but
A little
like
bit,
you,
yeah.
I would still like to have that one thing. Like, I never, like you, I didn't want to go out to LA and just start from the bottom. Be like, hey, you're going to be the lighting, you could work your way up to director. I wanted to, again, the egotistical part, be like, nope, this is my screenplay. Take it or leave it. This is, I'm not
Right.
going to, but I think I came to a point like I honestly directing was just not for me. And I think I realized working with Dan a lot too. So that kind of helped. But yeah, no, I've written some stories and I think I've kind of started fleshing things out. But I'm going to be, like I said, with so much going on right now, and from like the movies and coaching and this and that, like I haven't had a chance, and work too, because I had a, when I changed city, like so much has happened. And I know it sounds like excuses, but it's like I just need to find time, be good, like not have any other distractions, and be like, all right, fuck it, just do it. But like you, I would like, it's still there. It's just how to get there, and
Yeah.
just but I would be okay with just finishing it and be like, what, whatever happens, happens. Because especially now, like
Yeah.
with what ebooks and stuff like that, you can put it on there for like 99 cents, $1.99, whatever. Like there's so many more different ways to get your content out there. I don't know, but so let me ask you,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
change. Let's change because we've tried this quite a few times. I think, and I say quite a few times, probably once or twice. But if you had to create a movie, like if we were to work on a
Yeah.
movie together, and because I think we've kind of discussed ideas and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
what is a story maybe that you're not working on? Because I know as a writer, we keep a lot of things to heart. You're like, hold on, I'm not ready to share with the world my stories. But like, what would be an
Oh, I don't
idea?
care.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. Because I'm also one like I until it's finished, or until, like I don't know. Yeah. Either way, what is a story, or what is something you would want to get out there? Like, what would and you don't have to be exact, but like what kind of film are we talking about? Sci-fi? I know you're big on space, obviously. Would Soto actually write a horror film? Well, I guess you don't like hard named horror films. You're fine with. But if you had to write a movie, what even whether it's back then, what would be your style? What would you write?
As funny as you just mentioned it, like I lean towards a horror movie. Um, I would like to write a New Hampshire based horror movie of some sort because I feel like New Hampshire is a horror show for me. Um, yeah, horror movies are the first movies I ever saw, really. As far as movies that I remember. And yeah, we shit on horror movies and we'll see a lot more shitty ones before the month is done. But if I had to shoot a movie, I would do something set in New Hampshire. I'd do something, probably mid '90s New Hampshire. Um, it would involve the woods. I know everyone's like, "Oh my god, what a groundbreaking idea!" Um, but horror is what I would lean to. I think if I was going to do something like science fiction, I'd write that in a novel, and that's one of the ideas I have right now that I'm working on. I'd keep that. I'd be more George McFly on that and just write a science fiction novel. Um, but if I had to do a movie right now, gun to my head, and you're like, okay, we got to write a script, and then we're gonna shoot it. Like, let's say you were like, okay, studio gave us $10 million. Let's shoot a movie. I would lean horror. Um, I don't know. It just seems exciting to me to do a horror movie. It would be the most interesting. Now, of course, as you know how I feel about horror video games, I don't feel the same way about movies. But I think that I've seen enough scary movies that I could do one.
I could definitely see that for you. And obviously, once I start talking, you'll kind of laugh just like you just did. Because yes, the movie we did do was more of a romantic comedy. Because at that time it
Yeah.
was just easy that we could do.
Hmm.
But I would love to create a suspense thriller. Go
Of
figure.
course you
It's
would.
just something
Yeah.
just something that makes you think, something a little bit different. Um, but yeah, I mean, New Hampshire.
I can picture I
I
can picture your opening already. Somebody wakes up somewhere and it's a series and they don't understand how they got there. Now it's a mystery that they have to unravel.
get the Scooby Doo gang.
That's the Chad. I can already picture it. It's not that movie because I don't know what we talked about earlier this year, but that the woman wakes up chained to her dead husband or something.
Oh, that was a shitty
And I
movie.
was like,
Till Death with Megan
yeah, it
Fox.
was. But I
But
mean, that's a great premise, though.
that's a great premise. Well,
You know?
yeah, but that's not how the movie starts. It kind of that's more about a third of the way in. Coherence, I watched.
Oh,
I kind of like that because it deals with the multiple realities, this and that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Suspense thriller. Yeah, too.
yeah. But it's because here's the thing. So after we did our film From the Bottom of the Heart, and kind of time went on. I don't know if we talked about this, but do you remember? And I think you do remember because you did say it. So, but like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had like the Project Greenlight contest.
Yeah, of course.
You remember? So we entered that, where I guess technically me and Dan entered it, but I wrote a script. I actually quit work. Like I was planning on leaving work anyways because things were just, I was in a different place in my life. But I quit work
Sure.
like 2-3 weeks earlier than I planned on. I just like, fuck you guys, I'm out. And I was there for 6.5 years. But anyhow, and I remember because I didn't have another. I knew I was moving from Minnesota to New Hampshire, and I literally sat down on my mom's computer and wrote this out. And we actually made, because what happened is you put in these scripts, and as part of it, you have to read 3 other scripts and grade them. And it's kind of hit or miss because I know people can shit on and stuff like that, but it was very interesting reading other scripts and being honest about it. And the top 250 moved on to the next round. Blah blah blah. We made top
Mhm.
250 alternate, so somewhere we were from 251 to 275 based on the script alone, which I was fucking proud of.
Well,
But the
yeah,
premise,
hell yeah.
and I gotta find this. I have to lend you the script somehow, Soto. If I can ever find the full copy, because I somehow lost it, because I know I gave it to Jill once. It was called Sleep Pattern. Now, mind you, I wrote this in 99, 2000, so around that time. And the premise, going to thriller, is basically, these college students, they need money, blah, blah, blah. And they take part of a sleep study. And they stay there. They don't really know what's going on. But as time goes on, they cannot tell the difference between when they're sleeping and when they're awake. Depending on how. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people compared it to Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, but it's not a horror. I was so pissed because one of the questions like, what movies would you compare this to? And that's like the top one, which I get because of the sleep stuff. But I was like, oh, come on. And I had to send in the first draft. Me and Dan, because I sent Dan a couple drafts, and we did not know how to end this. Like I had a few ideas. And I was like, why don't we just do this? If we win, maybe we can change it. So I had an idea of one of those endings where dun 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 kind of things. I won't get into it. But yeah, we didn't have
a Night Shyamalan ending.
No. Not like that. Just something where, because obviously there is some twists and stuff like that, but not like an M. Night Shyamalan, but just something that was at that time, very 90s. I won't say like it's been done, but anyhow. So we like, let's just send it in. And yeah, it was crazy because, again, just being like, we're an alternate. So if someone did not do the next part, they would just get the next person, stuff like that. But yeah, I was kind of pissed that everyone. Anyhow, now I knew where my point of the story was going. So we did that. Obviously, nothing happened. We said it was an alternate. I'm like, but either way, we were like almost top 300. I was like 7,000. That script generated a lot of people. Great. And so what was it? 2004, 2005. Dan messages me and says, "Hey, have you seen the trailer to Inception?" So I say that, I'm like, wait, what? So because my story was about how this doctor was implanting memories into these kids and changing their reality through their dreams. Do not get me wrong, Christopher Nolan did it 10 times better, but the premise is pretty much this. I will not shit on Inception, because obviously they took it a lot further, because we kept it an independent film, like feel, but the idea of going, and I'm like, seriously, Soto, I boycotted it at first for a while. I'm like, oh, I think it came out 2010, whatever it came out. But you get the point. At first, I'm like, I'm not fucking. Like, they stole my idea, which I know they did. Do not get me wrong. I'm not that egotistical enough. But that premise is very similar to how I wrote Sleep Pattern to what it was in Inception. And I did get it. And like I said, I did watch it. I love Inception. It's a great movie. But it took a while for me to watch it because I laughed. I'm like, motherfucker. Like, if I could just change things up, that big budget movie feel, who knows? But yeah, so that premise is what Sleep Pattern was. Basically, yeah, these kids don't know, but it turns out the guy leading it was kind of implanting memories in their dreams to help, so they don't know what's real, so they can tell what's real and what's fake. But yeah, so when people kept saying this is like Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm like, fuck you. No one's dying like that. There is no horror guy. There's nothing scared shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is death in it, but it's not like that. It's so crazy. I will try and find the script, Soto, because I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it. I'm like, after Inception, I'm like, well, damn, I can't sell this shit now because everyone's gonna think it's a ripoff of Inception. It's like, fuck you, Christopher.
Well, now, yeah, and I mean, Inception has one of the greatest endings of all time too. So I don't know what your ending was like.
Nothing like that. Dude, again, do not give.
Inception's ending is fucking fantastic.
But no, not just the ending, the whole movie and the whole, especially the shift in the dreams. Because again, when we wrote this, or I was like, we were still thinking very small time. Like we did not go big budget because we didn't know what this was. Something like we could legit, because even if we didn't win, we were like, hey, this is something maybe we can possibly do, find a way, something for us, sure. Which we couldn't after Inception anyways. But yeah, I will admit, because you're only required to read 3 other scripts, they would send it to it and you had to read it and, like I said, fill out a survey and stuff like that. And a couple of them were good. Like I don't remember too much. I remember a couple, one was, I don't even know. It was shit, and he was talking about like gun fucking the skull. I don't know. But yeah, there was a skull. Oh. Yeah, I don't know too much. It was so bad, and like exactly when people who don't know how to format either, like yeah. So no, there is because I read more than 3. I'm like I was just curious, and we were reading a few, and we'd even share. So I like it, and I think the winner was called Stolen Summer. I think it starred Kevin Pollak, maybe Aidan Quinn. I can't remember, but it's the deal like a a Jewish kid meets a Christian kid, and just basically the. I'm not big on religious movies, but the idea that they come from different worlds and just they're questioning their beliefs. Like I'm talking about Kid, and I thought Stolen Somewhere was really good. The one that ended up winning, it was a very heartfelt movie. So I was fine with it, but yeah, I laughed at it because yes, I did write this thriller. I was very proud. I'm still very proud of it because again, though we didn't make top 250, we were somewhere up there, and it is a good story. And yeah, I will find it. You can read it, but you'll once you read it, you're like, God, yeah, there is some similarities to Inception here. But no, I'm not saying it's better than Inception. I'm just laughing because I'm like, yes, the idea of going into dreams was kind of similar, and I'm like, fuck you, Christopher Nolan, it's still my idea. But no, Inception's great.
It was basically a bank heist movie with dreams. Was
Correct.
essentially the structure of Inception. So I mean, I have my issues with Inception's kind of plot in general, but it's a very enjoyable film. But somebody said to me, or I read this somewhere, where it's like the universe will give you an idea, and if you don't act on it quick enough, it will give that idea to somebody else. And I think that's a huge way of thinking. It's like we all get like these crazy ideas from the source, and that's when it's time for that idea to come out, it'll either come out through you or it'll come out to somebody else. But it'll come out whenever it's time for that idea, whether it's a song or whether it's a film or anything like that. When it's time for it to like show up, it will show up.
Mm-hmm. Could have been me, Soto.
I think that's
Could
a
have
cool
been me.
idea. Well, I mean, you had to grow up,
I did.
right
I
after
did.
that whole situation. You literally had to grow up. Uh, and I think we both kind of, it just it was like we both had a trajectory, and then something happened. Yours, the world ended, and then it literally sent you on a different trajectory. But we both had a thing, and then it like we got scattered to the winds, and now it's like here we are in the aftermath, and we're still kind of like, wait a second, like I've still kind of wanted to do that. Um, I don't think it's too late. It's just it's not as early as it was before. When I was in my 20s, but I think as long as you're alive, that there's still a chance to do really anything. And to go back to the 200 movie challenge, it's just I wanted to be like inspired to do stuff again. And yeah, some movies that I've seen this year, like Slaw, don't really do that. Um, but I wanted to see if something would spark that because that's what would it be before. I'd watch a movie and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I really want to do that. Oh my god, I really like how that was done. Oh my god, I really want to write that." Um, if I was, I mean, the only reason I would want to direct really is because I do see scenes in my head when I close my eyes and stuff, and I can see shots. But I'm not really married to that. I'd be right now. I would be happy, like if I just sold one script, for a decent amount of money, and nobody knew who I was for the rest of my life, but I was able to live like comfortably
Mm-hmm.
and not have to do my regular job. That's what I would settle for right now. I don't need to be up on stage with an Oscar or anything like that. I don't care about that shit. I just want to be able to live comfortably and have more time to watch movies.
Comfortably would be good. But no,
I don't know.
yeah, no, I understand. Like, I mean, again, in my 20s, early 20s, we used to watch the Oscars all the time. Like, one day I could be up there. And now it's like, I honestly, like I said, I mean, I've thought about comic. I can't draw, but I've thought about like comics, books. But I think, like I said, there's one dream that's still there. It's just like have a book. Like I would love just the physical copy. I think because that could be a little bit more done easier.
Oh
But
yeah,
like
absolutely.
seeing that in like a Barnes and Noble, not just making it and be like that, but just be like, okay, I put it here. But seeing that like shit, okay, I did it. That I could care less if they adapted it to a movie. Great, because then I'd get my story by Chad's credit. I'm like, you know what? I'm good with that because no one cares about this. No, I don't think many people care about screenwriters like they once did. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know what this next fresh crop of filmmakers are thinking, but it just seems with streaming services and all that shit nowadays, things are different. I hate to sound old man, but I'm just like things just seem
No,
different.
I wouldn't want anybody to know who the fuck I am. Would you?
No, no. I mean, I would just
That's the
like that
thing.
like
When I was younger, sure, but older, no. I don't want to like. I would never want to walk around and have somebody be like, "Oh my God, Soto! Like, oh, I'm a huge fan." Like, I don't. That's just that died a long time ago. That idea. Um, I don't know if that was a need for some sort of trauma response or something like that, or some sort of need to belong or acceptance or whatever that was. But yeah, I just want to be able to like have time autonomy, if that makes sense. Like I want to be able to spend my days however I want to spend my days, and if that's writing, like Stephen King and just doing that all day for the rest of my life, or that's fine. I just like, our 9 to 5s just it gets in that's what takes up a lot of our time, is just having to do those 9 to 5s. I mean, we have to because we have to pay for our apartments, but I don't. I just want to be able to, I guess, contribute something to movies. I guess before I die, um, and only for the fact that I just like movies that much, and I would like to. Yeah, because when I was younger, man, I was really good at criticizing people's shit. I was really good at saying like, "Your opinion is wrong. This movie is terrible." And I was really defined when I was younger by the things I didn't like, as opposed to the things I liked. And I'm trying to, as I'm getting older, I'm trying to be much more in tune with like the things that I like, the movies that I like, and not be so angry about the Phantom Menace and whatnot. Although I am
no,
still angry about it, but
you
not
can
as
be
much as I
angry.
used to be.
No, you can still be angry about that. It's okay. You can be angry about every friggin' prequel and sequel Star Wars. That's allowed right now.
Sequels, yeah, no, I'm much more like meh about the sequels, but I used to take like if I saw a bad movie when I was in my 20s and I was in film school, man, I would see it as a personal attack on my soul that somebody had the audacity to make such a piece of trash. And now that I'm in my mid 40s, I'm like, who cares? Here I am watching some things that I've watched right this year, and there's plenty of evidence now. And I don't know, it's like making a movie is hard enough. You've made one. Um, yeah, some movies are better than others, and some of them don't hit the mark. But making movies is a fucking hard thing to do. It's fucking hard, and it's thankless, and nobody cares. Like, I mean, we were doing when we were filming our senior project, we were shooting for 20 hours in a day. That's no joke. Our first call would be like we were cinematographers, so we had to get there at 4:30 in the morning. 4:30 in the morning in Keene in January, February is
Oh
fucking
Jesus.
freezing.
Yeah.
And when you're laying down dolly track at 4:30 in the morning at night, because you have to get all these shots set up for the whole day, like that's fucking painful. You better fucking you better feel comfortable that that's what you want to be doing. If that's it's like if you don't know what your why is and you're out there in the middle of the fucking night and you're laying down dolly track, like then you're gonna be fucked. And all I knew is that I didn't want to do that. You know, um, I just want to be just a pampered writer in my room
Mm-hmm.
and not having to do manual labor.
Yep. Be like, all right, I just need to get to chapter 3 today. All right, I am
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah, that's it. I don't have to pick anything up, put it down. Fuck that.
No, no, no. Oh my god. But no, it's I don't know. Like I said, we had those dreams and now it's just like they're still there. It's just here we are, whatever, 30 years later. But like you, like
Mm-hmm.
I would like that one thing. Probably when I still know what's going on, probably not when I'm like in my 80s and I'm old and confused. Not like I'm old and confused now, but you know what I mean. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Who knows? But the bottom line is sometimes, like we say, in the 200 movie challenge, just press play. Sometimes you gotta just say, fuck it, just write it, just go for it. So,
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, just like how you did it, where you just picked up a camera and you just went. I think that's the best way to go. So you just open up your laptop and or whatever and just start jotting things down and see where it goes. I mean, create stuff just to create it, and not really be invested in the result or if anybody's going to like it. Just write the stuff that you want to write. I think that that's the best way to go about it.
all right. anything you'd like to add before we end this week's episode? I mean, damn, we pretty much
Uh,
talked like an hour about this, but we usually do.
and I didn't even get into the details of the failure part,
Nate, another
which is good.
episode. Another episode.
Yes,
We
which
got
is, that's a
so
whole other fucking thing.
so,
Yeah,
and I didn't even get into my movie, and I, like I said, I know I want to do that with Dan and a few others, and
of
just
course.
I want
I
to
would
spend a
love
little
that.
time on that because that would be a little different.
Mhm.
No, like this topic has legs, because obviously, yeah, we dreamt it and probably went through some shit, and we tried, and you know what, like I will say this, and this is I don't want to knock on a lot of people who've done, haven't, but you know, and I'll say this, I don't know if it depends on the definition of failure. I feel like sometimes I failed myself, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit another day. But then I look at it, it's
Mhm.
this. That film, somehow, and that's the story that's going to come a little later, we got a call to be in a film festival in LA and New York. And it
Mhm.
showed in LA. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I failed in what I wanted in the big picture. I'm like, I still had a movie shown in LA. I was in a fucking
You
film
did.
festival. And I'm like, yeah, maybe it does not go the way we want. We had certain ideas and plans, but I'm like, failure is what you, how do I explain this? It's just like, like, like I said, for me personally, and I think I failed myself in some ways, but I'm like, failure is what you think it is. I mean, like,
Mhm.
even if it's a minor
Yeah.
success, some people are like, well, you did this, but nothing happened, blah, blah. Okay, if that's failure to you, great. I'm like, my fucking ugly ass face was, and I say ugly, but my wife will kick my ass. But you know what? My mug was on a fucking screen. I'm like, written by
Yeah.
Chad, and I'm just like, so at least, like I said, at least I accomplished it. Outside of family and stuff like that, that's still the biggest accomplishment I've ever had. But
Yeah.
either way, yes,
Absolutely. I
if we
agree.
get into failures, I'm sure we both have stories and how we feel. And we can save that for another day because we'll probably talk about a lot of other failures. I don't know. Depends what kind
We
of
can.
mood we're in.
I'm always in the mood to talk about the shit that I fucked up. Always
Oh,
on my mind. Why not? You know what I mean? Yeah. So well, I could talk for a whole other hour about that part of my life. So we'll save that for sure.
we'll save that for another day. We'll save that for another day. But yeah, that should do it. Yeah, kind of, I guess, a little why we got into filmmaking and just our early thoughts about it. And yeah, if
Hmm.
anyone's actually listening, because no one is, just let us know what you thought. And, if you have questions about what we've done, just let us know. Ask us. Or if you have a movie idea, let us know. But until next week,
Yeah.
just don't feel, what, in all honesty, I know we were kind of joking about it, just, no matter what you do in life, just don't think you failed. Just keep trying. It's okay. Just
As long
because
as you're
other,
alive,
yeah,
there's no failures.
yeah.
You know.
If you think it's a
You know,
success, who cares what anyone else says? So have a good one.
exactly. It's the best way to put it.